Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another Alovéa Pros podcast. And this is one of those ones, when you play phone tag back and forth with somebody, this is Natalie, this was you and I trying to set up this podcast, right? We were all set. I had to cancel it. We're trying to figure out the right dates. And guess what? We're here. We're together.
Yes, so exciting.
Are you excited? Your first podcast. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm just so appreciative that you're having me here to speak with you because this is just so fun to dig into all this stuff and have this conversation. So thank you.
Nice. Well, we got to meet up here in the mountains, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Your story is fantastic because you're sponsored by this company, Alovéa. You're an Alovéa Pro. But, the beginning of your journey in kind of the passion around nutrition and health really started when you're a college athlete. Can you share with us, like, what were you doing back in those days and what got you excited about nutrition?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ran for a Division 1 school. I ran cross country there, and my first season there wasn't the most smooth. So I had actually went for my sports physical, and I was given some free samples of some high hormone birth control. Right before the season started, which didn't work well with my body. I gained a lot of weight and very fast, like very, very fast. I was running all the miles, like we were doing 2 a days for workouts, and I was gaining a lot of weight, like 15 pounds within a month, despite the
Goodness.
workouts. Yeah. So I ended up getting really bad shin splints, and I thought I was going to redshirt that season. And it was my freshman year. It was really a big bummer, but it really fueled me actually. The problem is that that winter I went off that high hormone birth control and I lost the weight right away. So it was really quick. It was like go on it, gain the weight, go off, lost it all. But I became obsessed with eating perfectly because I went
Mm,
through that weight gain.
right.
And it wasn't the healthiest path because I gained the weight really fast. I lost it really fast. Then I'm becoming obsessed with eating like perfect calorie amounts, fats and like processed foods. But then I also had the drive to become the number one runner at this school I attended. So I basically wasn't fueling my body for what I was putting in the miles I was putting in. So I
Wow.
was under fueling myself, and I did become the top runner there the next season. I became the number one runner. So my
You had
goals
that
were in
drive. Yeah.
line. Yeah, my goals were right in line, and I was on a mission to achieve that. But I lost a lot of weight, and it was not healthy. And by the end of this season, I was kind of fizzling out. So I wasn't taking in the proper nutrition to fuel what I was doing for my performance and for my training. And luckily, I have a very strong mindset. So I recognized that. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, this is not right. I'm on a bad path. But the passion for fueling my body properly was there. It just didn't start right.
Right.
And um, I became obsessed with how can I fuel myself properly for performance and health, right? Because that's all tied together. Yeah, that's really where my passion started with like how can I make myself the most healthy I can and in the right way and in a healthy way so that I'm getting the right amount of calories and nutrition for what I'm doing for sports and athletics.
But you can see this is a difficult time, right? Because you're a young a young student athlete, so you still have school, you still have life. And then all of a sudden something happens where your body shifts so dramatically, so quickly. I mean, it can cause a lot of mental health, mental challenges because you're kind of like thinking, and then you turn that into this inward desire. I mean, how was your kind of mental strength getting through that? Because sport is, and especially long distance sport, is such a mental game. How did you cope with that?
Well, it was an obsession in both ways, with the running and with the nutrition. It became such an obsession. So I was very positive through that whole phase, but it was somewhat of a mind mess because, yes, the damage of gaining the weight and the weight fluctuations and all of that. And then also kind of hiding that I was under fueling myself because I even knew, I'm like, I'm losing a little too much weight, that people are going to be concerned and then trying to hide that. It was kind of a really odd phase for me to go through during that time. I'm just so glad it was short lived and that like I came out of it
Right.
on my own.
Yeah. Well, and now, like, if you fast forward, so that was what you're doing in the world of sports. like fast forward to today, because I know you're still coaching today. So how did you take that passion and what are you doing today? And how did you keep that passion? What are you enjoying about sharing, kind of helping others now through that process?
Yeah, so I am a high school distance running coach, and that one huge part of my passion is making sure, like, I'm helping kids all around, with their journey of where they're starting with running. But nutrition is a huge piece of it, and fueling your body properly is so critical for performance, but also staying healthy in the process. So I every year deliver a nutritional presentation to the kids and just, like,
Wow.
make sure you're getting enough fuel, enough nutrition, and here's what that might look like. And so that is a huge piece of my coaching and what I do there. Um, and there's just so many facets to that, and the kids, it doesn't need to go into too much detail and too, with them, but just making sure they're hitting the basics, and I think that's key.
Do you think kids are
Yeah.
paying more attention, maybe kids and parents are paying more attention to that today than they were 10 or 15 or 20 years ago?
Absolutely. Yeah, and we see it's so common with especially female runners struggling with what I did in college. It's just such a common thing with running, and it's something that me and the other coach keep our eyes out for because it's an easy path for young females to go down, and it can be kind of accidental where they don't really realize it's happening until it's kind of too late.
Yeah. Well, I had always admired, I was kind of more the hockey, tennis, basketball, like kind of those basic kind of type of sports. But even tennis has more of the individual side. But I've always amazed with people that can do long distance, individualized sport. My wife was a long distance swimmer and very, very top notch. And like you in that world, it's a I think one of the most difficult things. People don't understand. You're out there running, you're by yourself, you're on yourself, you don't have a coach sitting right beside of you. So you're in your own head while you're doing that long distance. So not only taking care of your body beforehand, but also the coaching. So what are some of the things you love most about coaching these kids?
Yeah, I think it's such a different journey for everyone, and gaining that confidence is so important with having, someone start out and maybe they feel like they're not a very good runner, but everybody has potential to become a great runner. It really is just what you put into it. As much as people tell me all the time, like, I'm not built for running. I'm like, yes, you are. You just don't know it yet.
That
You
is
know,
funny.
everybody's built for running. We're humans. We're supposed to run. That's just what I believe. But
I
yeah,
love
just
that.
seeing the kids improve, and where they start looks very different from where they finish, especially from freshman year of high school to senior year. And everybody kind of takes a different route in their journey with that. And it's so similar to health, and where you start and how it looks different for everybody. And that path you go down looks different for everybody. And where you end is just like comparing the two is always so rewarding. Like, where
Yeah.
was I? Where am I now?
That is pretty cool to, look at somebody's journey and being able to see that. When you said, not everybody looks like a runner, but everybody's a runner. It reminds me of this great story, and this kind of goes into you being now sponsored with Alovéa, because this is a friend of ours and somebody who was sponsored who is a one of those ultra runners, and he had a running store, and somebody walked into a store and said, "Who's Pete Ripmaster?" And he said, "I'm Pete Ripmaster." And he said, "Well, what does 50 and 50 mean?" He says, "Well, it means 50 or 50 marathons and 50 states." And he said, "Well, you don't look like a runner." Pete said something back that was pretty funny. He said, "Well, you don't look like somebody that would be so rude to just say that about me." But he didn't look like what you would think that traditional runner. But here's a guy who's done 50 marathons and 50 states. So you just, like you say, you never know. Go into that journey, because we actually had him speak to a bunch of pros with Alovéa. You were introduced to this company with Alovéa. How were you introduced, and what was it that made you say, "Yeah, this is something I could get behind"?
Yeah, I actually stumbled upon it accidentally. I had a mutual friend that was sharing some information about it, and it's piqued my curiosity because I was going through a really hard time when I saw this information. And I think you kind of have to sometimes go through those hard times to realize you need something,
Mm,
because I probably didn't realize I needed it as much. It's just that I didn't know what else to do in that moment. So at the time, I was in a high stress work project. But on top of that, I experienced two concussions within a short amount of time.
wow.
It it was a struggle. This was probably one of the biggest struggles of my life, and a lot of people don't even know about it because I was keeping it all to myself. Besides my husband, inventing everything to him and crying all the time. But I went snowboarding with my son, hit my head twice on some slick ice, and I was trying to snowboard. I am not a snowboarder. It was literally just me trying to figure it out. And I had really bad concussions for a few months straight, only to slip down the stairs and smoke my head 3 months later. So,
No.
yeah, so I had some really scary things happening. Not only did like my personality change with the concussion symptoms, which is common with concussions that you can have some personality changes. It's typically a bad sign. But I remember looking in the mirror and going, "Wow, I aged 10 years. Like what is going on right now?" And I know that I wasn't eating the best because I was so stressed out. I was sacrificing things that I normally put a lot of effort into because I just didn't have the energy or anything to make that happen. So my hormones were all off. My everything was just chemically imbalanced, I think, is what was going on. I had really bad concussion symptoms that weren't going away, super dizzy every time I rode in the car. I got car sick. Anytime I was trying to work on the computer, I had such bad eye strain and headaches. And it was pretty miserable. So I saw some of Alovea's products that were recommended for like hormone support and just more really the hormonal side of things is what caught my eye. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to give that a try. Little did I know, I didn't think that it was going to help me with everything else. I really didn't. I had no idea. And to be honest, within a few weeks of trying some of the nutrient technology, having the beta lanes and the Ace Mannan infused CBD, my concussion symptoms went away. So I'm like, wow, I'm feeling better. Like it must
Yeah.
be a
Caught
random
your attention, right?
thing. But I thought that that was ironic. I'm like, I just must be feeling better. I didn't know that it was anything to do with me improving my nutrition and how the products work. So I started feeling better and better and better as time went on. And I'm like, okay, I know that there's a connection here. So yeah, I guess over time I noticed improvement with my running. That summer, like it was just a couple months into taking the Ace Mannan, I was running stronger, recovering faster. My mental clarity was getting better and better from the concussions as time went on as well.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and in the fall, I'm like, I'm gonna crush this half marathon that I have for. And I was only taking a couple things and I just felt so good. Then in the fall, I decided, of course, to become a pro. And I went all in on taking like more of a holistic approach with the nutrients and, an integrative approach. So then that's when I noticed the biggest impact for my.
Really? Sounds like I already had a huge impact.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. I came out of concussion symptoms and was noticing gains with running, but then after I took an integrative approach, my running within 6 months, Craig, I've had several races so far. I dropped my half marathon time by over 4 minutes.
Holy moly.
In my ever PR, like if you count ever, I dropped over 4 minutes off my time. And then my 10K that I ran just at the end of spring, it was a little over 2 minutes that I dropped off.
Wow.
Incredible. My body's clearly recovering faster. I'm able to push harder in my workouts. So that's a huge part of things just because I feel like I'm recovering faster. I have less inflammation. So everything's just working better for me to push harder and then also race harder. And of course, we know how great fuel is, so that is huge.
Well, I think first of all, huge congratulations for you still competing and running, and then getting your personal best times and doing what you're doing is really remarkable. For those, I think what was so interesting about your story is like you often hear people hear about this company Alovéa around their groundbreaking technology with Alovéa and with Ace Mannan and with Baylanes and those, but it was the balance that first caught your attention
Yes.
and saw that immediate difference. But then you went deeper, probably because back to that passion around nutrition, right? We're a food-based technology company, so all of our products are food oriented. But what I love here is that, look, you could have just used the products. You could just be focusing on your own personal gain and growth on your own running, but you chose to be a sponsored pro. The company has a special program for coaches, trainers, athletes, healthcare professionals to be sponsored. So now you're officially sponsored by the company. What was it that you decided to why would you say yes to putting your name and your brand connected to this company and sharing it with others?
I just knew from how big of an impact it was making for me that this could help anybody, no matter what situation they're in. Whether that's helping my runner friends, which I've also had other runner. My son is a big runner. He's going to be a senior in high school, and he's
Nice.
phenomenal. He's seen impacts with his performance that is just incredible. Track season, he had no hiccups, no bumps or anything. He was just on fire. So
Nice.
seeing the impacts with my running friends, but then also just seeing impacts with my husband and my family members. There's just so much room for health improvement no matter where you're at, and I want to share that with everyone. It's not even just running. It's not just helping, my high school running team. It's not just helping my runner friends. It is literally helping everyone I know. I've grown such a passion for helping whoever is in my path, with whatever they're going through, just because there's just, when you take a holistic approach like this, there's just nothing that this can't help improve. It's
Yeah.
just it
Well,
that
it's interesting too, because you and I have similar backgrounds, and except I was a tennis coach, you're a running coach. And then you start to realize that you can take those coaching principles and apply them to almost anything in life. And about living a healthier lifestyle, there is something rewarding. I mean, you look at all these running, high performance running athletes that you're working with, they maybe have parents that aren't as committed to their health. And, to be able to impact and support their life, it's extremely rewarding. What about, I saw a video of you got to go to Mexico and actually meet with the former president of Mexico and the kids, because this is a social business as well, right? You're working every day with kids, high performance kids, but every single product that's served within this company is also taking that core ACE man and providing it to children around the world. The company's just surpassed 61 million servings, and you got to go on a trip to have this experience. What does that mean to you? And what was that experience like?
that was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced.
Wow.
Yeah, and it really sunk into me what we're doing here.
Mm,
Until that moment, I knew that we were doing great things. I knew we were nourishing children and that we have such a great impact with anybody across the country and the children that we're nourishing. But when I got to Mexico, it just all clicked. I met these kids. No, number one, they're so fun. They were so excited to see me. So I was like, yes, let's play. Come on, let's go. I had so many shoulder rides that we did. And just seeing them light up when they got their bag of the Mighty Milk, and like they were so excited to get that Mighty Milk. I'm like, wow, we are making a huge impact. Not only that, like not only playing with the kids and giving them Mighty Milk, but we went to Charisma while we were there, and I think that was the most emotional moment for me because I saw a little girl who really needed our nutrition, our nourishment, because she wasn't she wasn't gaining weight. She was just a little baby and basically was wasting away. And her mom was so excited, like lit up to tell this story. And I'm listening as a mom going, "Oh my gosh, if this was me and my child." Like my heart broke in that moment. Like, but I was so excited for it at the same time. I was excited and I was crying. I'm like, I am just so thankful that she found what she needed to so her little girl could thrive and survive. And that's what I would want for my child too. So it was the greatest trip ever. And spending time with, of course, everybody who was there was incredible. It just felt like family. It really did.
that's so beautiful. And I love it too, because, I think of runners being sponsored by Nike or different kind of brands. And in the tennis world, I was always sponsored by Wilson and Adidas. And and it's always great, right? You get some free stuff and whatnot, and you represent the brand. But to be part of a company that has such purpose behind it, right? Such a real feeling around it, that's really special. And I think of what was it about? When did you have that snow? What do you not skiing? What do you call it? Snowboarding. When did you have that snowboarding accident? How long ago
Yeah,
was
not
that?
not just this past winter, but the winter before. So about
A
a
couple
year and a
years?
half ago
Yeah,
or a
year and a
couple
half
years
ago.
ago.
From the sounds of it, like there's no way you would have had that experience going to Mexico. Obviously, you wouldn't have been running, but like just to think where your life has evolved in that short period of time. Like, what would your recommendation, if somebody's listening to this for the first time and maybe they're a coach or a trainer, athlete, or healthcare professional, or maybe just somebody's wanting to get healthy, what would your recommendation be for somebody?
As far as starting on the products, okay. Definitely go all in.
Oh, I feel like that's your attitude. I like that.
Because I dabbled at first. I dabbled in a few things, and it was when I went all in. Like right now we have the targeted health stack, which really just tackles everything from every angle, right? You're filling the nutrition gaps, you're also repairing at the cellular level, you're healing your gut. Why not go all in and repair everything as a whole? Because that's when you feel better and when things heal faster. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a no-brainer to me. I just feel like if I could do it over, that's what I would do. I would go all in right away.
I love it. I think that's great advice. And I think next time you're up in the mountains, we should have a little competition. We'll go out on the tennis courts together, and then we'll go run all around Bear Lake, and we'll see who does better against each other. And I guarantee you're going to win dramatically because I can barely run to the net and back, let alone long distance running. So I'm
I
going to
would
just,
love to see.
let's not have that. And let's just call you the winner. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, thank you so much. It was so wonderful having you with us today. And for everybody paying attention, definitely tune in to the next Alovéa Pros podcast. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Craig.